I've got two readings. The first is from Barbara Brown Taylor, but this is an excerpt from her Learning to Walk in the Dark. Darkness, she writes, is shorthand for anything that scares me, that I want no part of, either because I am sure I do not have the resources to survive it, or because I do not want to find out. The absence of God is in there, along with the fear of dementia and the loss of those nearest and dearest to me. So is the melting of the polar ice caps, the suffering of children, and the nagging question of what it will feel like to die. If I had my way, I would eliminate everything from chronic back pain to the fear of the devil from my life and the lives of those I love, if I could just find the right nightlights to leave on. At least I think I would, she continues. The problem is this. When, despite all my best efforts, the lights have gone off in my life, literally or figuratively, take your pick, plunging me into the kind of darkness that turns my knees to water, nonetheless, I have not died. The monsters have not dragged me out of bed and taken me back to their lair. The witches have not turned me into a bat. Instead, I have learned things in the dark that I could never have learned in the light, things that have saved my life over and over again, so that there is only really one logical conclusion. I need darkness as much as I need light. And the second is To Know the Dark by Wendell Berry. To go in the dark with a light is to know the light. To know the dark, go dark. Go without sight and find that the dark too blooms and sings and is traveled by dark feet and dark wings. Long before Christmas and Hanukkah, many of our ancestors were celebrating holidays that have faded a bit in modernity. For pagans, Wiccans, and likely many others across the world, many of these holidays were related to the Earth's relationship with the sun. Days like the solstices and equinoxes that mark the passage of time and the movement of the seasons. Modern pagans and others, especially those present, practice earth-based traditions, and they call this the Wheel of the Year. The solstices mark the times of the year when the sun is at its highest point in the sky during the summer solstice, the longest day of the year, and at its lowest during the winter solstice, the shortest day of the year. Stonehenge is a symbol and site of this long-time commitment to honoring the relationship between people, the earth, and the sun. I really kind of love the fact that we haven't figured out why it was built yet. There's often this assumption that because scientifically or otherwise, that because we know things that people who lived thousands of years ago didn't know, that we are somehow smarter than they were. A place like Stonehenge suggests that we may be quite wrong about that. Stonehenge is about 4,600 years old and was probably in the making for something like 1,000 years. I am fascinated by this and wonder how the concept was handed down generation after generation to take the project to its completion. Some of the stones were only brought from about 19 miles away, while others have been traced to varying distances, with the blue stones coming from about 145 miles away from where they stand now. Those are some fair distances to think about in a time when people had no vehicles or trains or giant barges that could manage the stones. The largest, the sandstones, weigh about 25 tons each. The altar stone, a long and flattish stone that resembles an altar, is from about 466 miles away in northeast Scotland and weighs about 6 tons. Why it was chosen and moved such a long distance is unknown to us at this time. It is believed to have been moved by boat. But whatever the reason, it was clearly considered very important to the peoples of the time. Stonehenge, all this time later, continues to align with the summer solstice sunrise and the winter solstice sunset. Some believe it was a holy site, others that it was a scientific observatory. Maybe I don't know any better, but why not both? The division of religion and science is fairly new, and one that many religious people and scientific people would argue is a false one. During this time of year, clergy especially get asked questions like, are the stories true? Like the one that we heard earlier. Just knowing this little we have learned about Stonehenge factually, of course I don't believe the story is true. Did the ancients, capable of spending lifetimes constructing Stonehenge, which aligns perfectly with the sunrise and sunset of the two solstices, honestly believe that the sun might disappear forever, or that it was through their own efforts that the sun returned? I don't think so. But that doesn't make the story untrue. There are many reasons why we do equate fact and truth, and given our times and circumstances in the United States, those are very real and necessary. Stories, though, are not meant to be taken as fact, and instead convey to us truths that sometimes facts fail to capture, or that we will remember and share. Facts are important, and stories are too. So some of the wisdom or truth in the story, the rebirth of the sun. Community is survival. That was true in 10,000 BCE and is true now. We all get tired after busy seasons and need to rest. Life is born in darkness. Gratitude for the earth, the sun, and the night help us remember our relationships with each and all, and that we need to tend to take care of these relationships in the hope that we, too, will have a bright future. That we need one another throughout our lives and across the generations. We are born connected to another person. That need to be connected with others continues all of our days. And that even on the longest nights, many of us will choose hope and inspire it in others. My guess is that most of us have found this time of year a difficult one at some point in our lives. In my own life, this season is filled with holidays as well as family birthdays. And as I have gotten older, it has also been the time of year when family and friends have passed. When I was a chaplain and supported hospice patients, we knew it was common for people to pass this time of year. They do their best to make it as long as they can, wanting one more festive holiday or whatever date or holiday marker they want to experience that one last time. Or for those of us who may be going through firsts or seconds of a loved one's absence following their passing, the first holiday season without them is a common challenge. The second holiday season is sometimes worse. We know that the firsts are hard and people often rally and show up for them. The seconds then can become worse because people aren't as attentive for them. and the person is more alone with their grief or sadness. And the nights are longer, and those of us with seasonal affective disorder can struggle a lot during this time of year, especially in wintry climes. And those of us who have experienced depression or mental illness struggle this time of year because of the lessened light. Witnessing what seems like joy around us, but inside feeling isolated and sad. How busy some people are and not feeling as connected to them. How we might, in the lessened light, be stuck spending more time with ourselves, which can cause us to spiral. Last year, I shared some of author Catherine May's story and from her beautiful book, Wintering, The Power of Rest and Retreat in Difficult Times. I highly recommend it, especially if you are in a place of feeling lost or displaced or sad or lonely in this season, or any other. Being a person in this world is hard. Know that you are not alone and be buoyed by her wisdom. Our narrative of the solstices is around light and darkness, which can be problematic because in our wider social narratives about light being good and dark being bad, this gets transferred onto people, witnessed by our culture's priority and supremacy of whiteness as opposed to our Black, Indigenous, and other people of color. There's been a great effort in the maybe last 5-10 years to either decenter the light versus dark focus of the holidays, as with May's concept of wintering, which she says can happen anytime, and or of lifting up ways of cherishing and celebrating darkness. We heard from Barbara Brown Taylor and Wendell Berry in the readings about the importance of darkness. Similarly, Reverend Lenny Duncan writes about Advent, but the message holds across traditions, saying, "Y'all, in the dark night is when you can see the stars guide the way. In the lovely ebony richness, luminous beings declare, do not be afraid. And in this rich blackness, we meet divinity clothed in oppression and vulnerability. So much mystery to explore in blackness." And then I am also reminded of a watch service some years ago, I think maybe 9. Valerie Carr's powerful question asking if this is the darkness of the tomb or the darkness of the womb. She invoked it in a political and spiritual frame. What if, she wonders, we are witnessing not death, but birth? Or, I might ask, even both. Something passing, something growing. This last year, according to the Chinese zodiac, was the year of the snake. This is considered a transformational year for those who follow such things. Snakes shed their skins. Sometimes the shedding is difficult. A bit holds on until it can be released. What if right now we're experiencing that phase of transition, whether in our personal lives or otherwise? Earth-based traditions remind us that nothing in nature blooms year-round, and that balance, even if only twice a year, is important to experience. Without it, we may be too unmoored, too driven for more, that we repeat Icarus's last flight. So enamored of the ability to fly, he gets too close to the sun, melting the wax used to secure his feathers, and he falls into the sea and drowns. In Wintering, May shares that we believe that much of life dies in the winter, and this is not true, factually at least. Storytelling-wise, it depends. She writes, "Even as the leaves are falling, the buds of next year's crop are already in place, wanting and waiting to erupt again in spring. Most trees produce their buds in high summer, and the autumn leaf fall reveals them, neat and expectant, protected from the cold by thick scales. We rarely notice them because we think we're seeing the skeleton of the tree, a dead thing until the sun returns. But look closely, and every single tree is in bud. The tree is waiting. It has everything ready. Its fallen leaves are mulching the forest floor, and its roots are drawing up the extra winter moisture, providing a firm anchor against seasonal storms. Its ripe cones and nuts are providing essential food in this scarce time for mice and squirrels, and its bark is hosting hibernating insects and providing a source of nourishment for hungry deer. It is far from dead. It is, in fact, the life and soul of the wood. In death, there is still life. In darkness, there is still hope as the wheel turns. May we cease resisting and lean into night's embrace. Again, Rebecca Parker's words. In the shadowed quiet of winter's light, earth speaks softly of her longing, because the wild places are in tears. Come, she cries to us, kneel down here on the frosty grass and feel the prayer buried in the ground. Bend your ear to my heart and listen hard. Love this world, she whispers. Distill peace from the snow and water the cities with mercy. Weave wonder from the forest and clothe grief with beauty. Rest in the rhythm of the turning year. Trace the bending arc, rounding the curve toward justice, and vow anew to do no harm. The winter trees stand watch, haloed in the last gleams of the slanting sun. Glory sings here, heaven echoes the call. Repeat the sounding joy. Make your life an answer. Bow, praise, rise. Please rise and lift your voice in song with me. Thank you.